back to another week of We Leave One Fight Off the Main Card. This week we left off, let me see, UFC Vegas 52, Jessica Andrade, Amanda Lemos. We left off Lando Venata versus Charles Jourdain. We did not talk about that one, but we did talk about 4 great fights going down on the main card this weekend. Main event kicked off Amanda Lemos versus Jessica Andrade, the battle of the Brazilian women. Lemos is 11-1-1 as a pro with 7 knockouts in her win column. Her only UFC loss was her debut against Leslie Smith, where she was knocked out in that fight. UFC wins include Miranda Granger, Mizuki Ione, Livia Renato Souza, Montserrat Ruiz, and most recently Angela Hill. She's a former Jungle Fight women's bantamweight champion. She won that in 2015, fought to a majority draw in her next fight against Myra Cantorina, and then won the immediate rematch following that. So she won the title in Jungle Fights. Next fight was a draw, got a rematch against Caratina, and then successfully defended her title there, then went on to join the UFC. She's coming into this fight with Andrade with a 2-inch height and a 3-inch reach advantage. Jessica Andrade, way more experience, 22-9 professional record with 9 wins by knockout and 7 wins by submission. She won her last fight via knockout over Cynthia Calvillo at UFC 266 in September. She won the title over Rose Namajunas in 2019. Immediately lost it to Wale Zhang in her next fight. And then she also lost to Rose Namajunas following that. I think for the vacant title, she went on after that to beat Caitlin Chikadian. Then she lost to Valentina Shevchenko. And then, of course, this most recent fight against Cynthia Calvillo was a knockout win for her. Excuse me. She's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, powerful strikes, good slams. That's how she beat Rose Namajunas, picking up and slamming her on her head. She's been in the UFC since 2013. She's 13-7 in that time. She's a veteran, man. She's fought everybody. I think she's fought Joanna. She's fought Rose. She's fought Wale. She's fought Valentina Shevchenko, Caitlin Chikadian, and Cynthia Calvillo. She's fought everybody in the UFC. She's a very well diverse fighter, whereas Amanda Lemos is going to try to stand and bang with her. If that's the case, Lemos coming in a little bit of an underdog. I think if they stand and strike, Lemos being a knockout artist herself with that big of a reach advantage over Andrade could be pretty lethal. So I'm going to go with the young upping or rising star Amanda Lemos. Clay Guida, veteran of the sport, taking on Claudio Puelles. Guida is 37-21 as a pro, 14-10 by submission, and 7-2 by knockout. He's coming off a submission win over Leonardo Santos in December. He's been in the UFC since UFC 64 in 2006. He's got career wins over Nate Diaz, Rafael dos Anjos, Anthony Pettis, BJ Penn, Michael Johnson, Leonardo Santos. He's coming into this fight giving up a 5-inch height and a 2-inch reach advantage. So he's coming in as a smaller guy. He's a lifelong wrestler. Started wrestling when he was a little kid, to 6-7 years old, something like that. And he's going up against a really, really good jiu-jitsu player in Claudio Puelles. Claudio Puelles is 11-2, never been submitted in his professional career. He's only been knocked out once, and that was against Martin Bravo in his UFC debut in 2016. He is 4-1 in the UFC since then, or I guess he's 4-0 in the UFC since that first loss. He's beat Felipe Silva, Marcos Mariano, Jordan Levitt, and then Chris Gruchmacher, however you say it. The 2 most recent, obviously, being the rising stars in that division, Levitt and Gruchmacher. Felipe Silva and Marcos Mariano, I think, happening back in the 2016, 2017, 2018 days. So relatively old news. His only other pro loss was a decision loss to David Cubas at Inca FC1 in 2014. He has 6 wins by submission and 2 wins by knockout. He's coming in as the bigger fighter. He's very submission heavy hands. I think we talk a lot about the heavy wrestling versus the heavy jiu-jitsu. I think that plays kind of a backseat here. Clay Guida is putting his foot on the gas at the back part of his career. I'm going to find it hard at any point in his career to bet against Clay Guida because he's such a crazy madman. So we're going to go Clay Guida here, probably by a decision. Macy Barber, Montana De La Rosa. That is a great fight for that division. Barber 9-2, started the UFC 3-0 after she won her contract on the Contender Series in 2018. She's then lost 2 straight to Roxanne Modafferi and Alexa Grasso, and then won a split decision in her most recent fight over Miranda Maverick. She's got 5 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission, never been finished in her professional career. She is a 2nd-degree black belt in karate and a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. She's going up against a brown belt in jiu-jitsu in Montana De La Rosa. De La Rosa is 12, 6-1 in her pro career. She's got 8 wins by submission and only 1 by knockout. She's got a draw against Mayra Bueno Silva in her second to last fight, and then has a TKO win over Ariana Lipsky in her most recent fight. Both times she was finished her professional career before the UFC, and those were against Mackenzie Dern and Cynthia Calvillo. So both UFC women just beating De La Rosa before they were all in the UFC. She is a former 3-time All-American in high school wrestling. I think that puts the icing on the cake. Yes, Macy Barber will be a better striker here. Hands down, this is another underdog I'm taking because I think Barber is going to come in the better striker, but she does have good grappling, so she might try to rely on that if she gets in trouble. And Montana De La Rosa is a very, very, very strong grappler. So I don't know what the fight's going to look like if she can successfully get this fight to the ground. I think it's going to be very tough for Macy Barber. And haven't been doing very good with my picks lately, but I'm going to go out on another limb here and take Montana De La Rosa via submission or decision. Manel Kopp versus Sue Menagerie, maybe. Manel Kopp is 17-6, never been knocked out in his pro career. He's only been submitted in 2 out of his 6 losses. He's got 11 wins by knockout, 5 wins by submission. He's 2-2 in the UFC, currently on a 2-fight winning streak with knockout wins over Ode Osborne and Zulgas Zumagulov. He's got 2 UFC losses were against Alejandro Pantoja and then a split decision loss to Matthias Nicolau. He's a former risen bantamweight champion. He's coming into this fight with a slight size disadvantage, and he fights Tiger Muay Thai. He trains at Tiger Muay Thai. So he's got good Muay Thai, good throws, good clinch work, and overall good kicks. Probably Manel Kopp is coming in with, I would say, probably more devastating kicks than Menagerie. Menagerie is 16-4 with all 4 of his losses being by submission. He's got 13 wins by knockout, and he is currently on a 3-fight winning streak over Andrei Sukumta, Malcolm Gordon, and Zaruka Adeshev. He's 3-1 in the UFC, 2-0 since making his return to flyweight, and he is a bigger flyweight with devastating striking. I think his weakness being submissions. Manel Kopp not really being only 5 out of his 17 wins being by submission, 11 out of 17 of his wins being by knockout, 2 out of his 6 losses being by submission. I think both of these guys' weaknesses, their ground game and their submissions. We're going to see a standing striking matchup here. Manel Kopp, I think, is going to hold Manel Kopp is going to hold a little bit of a advantage there. Like we talked about earlier, Lando Veneta versus Charles Jourdain also on the main card. Prelims kickoff, Jordan Wright versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Dwight Grant's going to be taking on Sergey Karadazgo. Kondazkov. Maybe. Tyson Pedro versus Ike Villanueva. Quayle Ori versus Cameron Elsey. Martian Pratino will be taking on Felipe Lenz. Dean Barry will be taking on Mike Jackson, and then Alexander Romanov was supposed to be fighting Tanner Boser. Tanner Boser fell out of that fight yesterday. Today, he got replaced by Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman just, I think like a week ago, was released by the UFC. Apparently, they needed him on short notice. He comes in to fight Alexander Romanov. I just want to take a quick second to talk about that fight really quick because I like Romanov. I think Romanov is great. Judo, he's got good clinch game. It puts you on your ass if you end up with him on the clinch. But he has been rocked before in previous fights. He has been hurt by heavy hands. And Chase Sherman is a former BKFC heavyweight champion, so he has hands. He's a good boxer, and that should be a really, really good fight in the heavyweight division. Chase Sherman looking to, he got a quick turnaround, quick release, and turn back into the UFC. It's going to be good to see him come in fired up. He knows he needs a win to pretty much get back into the UFC permanently. And Alexander Romanov, he needs to get a win so that he can solidify his chin and be able to say that, just a guy that came off on short notice, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days before the fight, isn't going to be able to beat him, So really looking forward to Alexander Romanov versus Chase Sherman. A couple of the good fights on that prelim card, but I'd say besides that one fight, it's pretty much main card heavy. Let's take one look. I think we might be looking at a pay-per-view next. No, we are not. April 30th, we have Rob Font, Marlon Vera. That's another one that's going to be, I'd say, pretty top-heavy. Darren Elkins, Tristan Connolly. What else we got? Hopefully they're doing a little bit of work to this card. Jake Collier, Andrei Avlarski. That's going to be a good one. Joe Mirashar, Christoph Jotko, Jared Gordon, Grant Dawson. That's a good one. Andre Feely versus Joe Anderson Brito is another good one. So, most of those fights that I just named are probably going to be on the main card. So, like I said, top heavy pretty much. But we will be back next Tuesday to preview that. Also, check us next Tuesday. Will be the debut of the BBQ Pit. The BBQ Pit Sports and the BBQ Pit Football, as we will be doing the NFL mock draft. Tuesday would be just days before the actual NFL draft, so hopefully we'll get out the last bits of the trades and things like that. And maybe I save one or two for the mock draft, but we're going to probably go most of them tradeless. So we'll have to see. But stay tuned next Tuesday. Holla at me. Stay barbecued. You guys know what the fuck it is.